Hello, everybody. My name is Martin. I am from MySQL Developer Tools team. I'll be presenting you MySQL Workbench, a tool that's should be used to model administration and query building for MySQL server. But yeah, before we begin, a little disclaimer. If someone didn't notice, I'm from Oracle. But it doesn't mean that whatever I say means the company says, so it's just my thoughts. If someone thinks it's different, it's not. Okay, so before this agenda, who knows what Workbench is? I need to ask this question because sometimes when I've asked it, it's like only few persons know what Workbench is, so I need to, okay, 1, 2, 3, okay, half of the room, okay. How many are developers or DBAs? Developers, hands up, please. Okay, so we are focused on developing. Okay, developers from the, what language, C++? PHP? Python? No, I will not ask about Java. But okay, Java. Oh, okay. Okay, some developers, yeah. Okay, so, yeah. The agenda is like this. We'll go through Workbench generally. Then I will show you some, let's say, advanced functions that you can find in the Workbench. After which I will tell you a little bit more that it's not suited for the SQL ID. I mean, the SQL ID is part of Workbench that's meant to allows you to query database. So let's begin the Workbench intro. Right now we've got Workbench 6.2. What operating system do you use? Linux? Hands up? Okay, great. So if you are using the built-in repositories, you should upgrade. Yeah, the thing is that usually the Workbench that comes from the repositories from the maintenance is a little bit old. Right now, as I said, we've got version 6.2. It's to be exact 6.2.3. And if you maybe you didn't notice, but Workbench is open source, and it's GPU based. It can work on 3 platforms. It may be Linux, Windows, and macOS. And from the developer's point of view, it's built using 4 languages. It's C++, it's Objective-C, it's C#, and it's Python. And the first question that came up is why? Oh, it's because of those 3 things, right? So to give the user a good feeling of the application on its system, we are using for Windows WinForms, which means we need the C#, GTK. For Linux, so it's C++, no problem. Cocoa, so it's Objective-C. And where is the Python? Well, Python means to be used to allow users to build plugins to extend Workbench. And I can tell you that a lot of things in Workbench is built in Python. Right now, the Workbench itself has got over 705,000 lines of codes. And if I remember correctly, it's bigger than MySQL server. And a lot of it is built in Python. There's a lot of functions exported into Python, and generally the whole Workbench, the core of it, is exported to the scripting shell. So if you are good in Python, it's simple language, so you should. You can use it to change its whole way of working. You can even build another tool on top of it as an IDE because of the way we've used this, right? On top of the, let's say, backend of the controls, we've made something that's called mforms. And the mforms is a library that allows us to build a Workbench independently over the platform. No matter what control you will use, it will be text area or text box or select box or whatever like this. It will look like a text box from macOS on macOS. It will look like text box on Windows from Windows. And of course in GTK, we know how GTK looks. Well, the only problem is that it's GTK2, but yeah, it's GTK. Okay, so about Workbench. And the overview, as I said in the beginning, there's an administration part of Workbench, which allows you to do a bit of server administrative tasks. There is MySQL development that's usually done using the queries. That's part of the SQL IDE. There is a data modeling, and there's a migration. I'll allow myself to say a little bit more about the migration thingy, because this is quite a useful tool if you want to migrate from other database systems into MySQL. And previously, it was working for SQL Server, PostgreSQL. Now, it supports even the Access migration. So we can migrate from Access to MySQL using this tool without writing any additional applications. You can just select the source, select the destination, and the default mappings usually works, but if you need something more, you need to tell the migration wizard what to do. Well, as I said, this is wizard, so it's like doing step by step, following your hand. And then just click, next, and then migration is done. Of course, it will not do everything, right? It will not migrate the stored procedures, functions, or, well, I think it will migrate views. Yeah, it should. But in the storage procedures and functions, yeah, it's something different. It's a different level, so Workbench can handle this. And we need to leave something for the DBA so they will not get bored, right, at work. Okay, so the administration is, well, the first screen that you will see when you connect Workbench to the server that is not working, that is over SSH tunneling, is this. This is the general overview of the server status, but the status in general. So if it's working, it's location, name, host name, socket, information about the features, and the graphs. The graphs should be known from the MySQL query tools. The old. They said old? Yeah, it's old tools that we were using for MySQL and that shouldn't be used anymore. Yes, I know it's got one nice feature, but it shouldn't be used. You should use this. If you are using query tools, you should switch to this. Okay, because this tool can do start-stop, connection, dump, import, logs, configuration, and can set up a setup and run performance reports. But the thing is that to do this, it depends how you connect to the server. If the server is local, then all of this should be working. If the server is remote, like SSH connection, then you need to set up extra remote administration. And after that, it will allow you to use those functionalities. About this SSH tunneling, we will get back to it a little bit later. And now let's move to the SQL IDE, which generally allows us to browse the data. And as SQL IDE means, it allows also to view the data and to edit the data. And yeah, I need to tell this, it allows you to create new objects and alter objects. Also, there's a new feature. Well, this feature was available since Workbench 6.0, or 6.0 is Visual Explain. The Visual Explain feature is something that is available when you connect to server 5.6. So if you're running all the MySQL server, you will not be able to use it. But instead, you need to upgrade to MySQL 5.6, or even better, if 5.7 will be GA, which is not yet. It's 5.75 and 15 is dev still. You will get even more information from the Visual Explain. But I think it's good to see how the query is done, right? There is a little bit redesign in 6.1, 6.2 about, for example, this. The side pane allows you to use access to some SQL ID functions, which we'll cover a little bit of them. We'll try to cover right. Not right now. It's a bit later, but on this presentation. About modeling. Modeling is a part of Workbench that allows you to model database to visually represent the database. Also, it allows you to reverse engineer the existing database, generate SQL code from diagram, and synchronize. About the reverse engineering. For the DBAs, it's good to see how the database looks like in real. like in extended entity relationship diagram, right? It's not standard ER diagram, it's extended one, because you see this is table, and these are columns, so this is extended one. It allows you to visualize the database. So we've got the tables, we've got the foreign keys, connections. It's done automatically. If you reverse engineer the existing database, Workbench will build it for you. It can also build the diagram for you. You just need to check the correct options, and the diagram will be loaded, and you will get the objects. You can start right away with modifying the objects. You don't need to start from scratch with the server. You just connect to server and reverse engineer and do this. Also, after you make some changes, you can synchronize the changes, and you will get the SQL that will be applied to the server, or it doesn't need to be server. It can be a model. It can be even a SQL file. So Workbench can load SQL file, and you can make changes according to SQL file. And there's also forward engineering that allows you to just export the current model into SQL file or the server directly if you are connected to the server. So you've got exported to the server. I can tell you one thing. I don't know. Everybody is using MySQL, or there are some other users. Someone is using something else than MySQL. Okay, what's you're using? Postgres. Okay, so I can tell you I know about one person that's using PostgreSQL. I mean, that's using this for PostgreSQL. This is a lady. She is using this to model database. Then she exports the data into SQL, and that's it. So it can be used in even different database, and it's open, right? It's open source. It's free, so you can use it with whatever you want. You can script it with Python, so you can change the output whatever you want. You can just go through the tree, which is accessible in the scripting shell, and you can build your own tool with it. So that's very handy. Regarding the advanced SQL IDE, I've told you that I will show you some functions that mainly the part of SQL IDE that we think that it's advanced, and it's because some people sometimes forget that Workbench can do those functionality, especially that when the site pane is hidden, they didn't know that it's there. And sometimes it is hidden. I don't know why, maybe it's from the beginning. So one of the things is Schema Inspector. It's a tool that allows you to first view all objects in the schema, right? So we've got the tables, we've got the columns. There's also, of course, the info tab, the general info. There's columns, indexes, triggers, views, storage procedures, function, grants, so permissions, and the event scheduler, events. Somebody is using events in MySQL server? Someone? No? You know what events are? Okay, you don't know, so a little bit of explanation, because it's something different. Everybody knows what cron is, right? The cron tab. Probably a lot of Linux users, so you should know it. Okay, so let's say that you don't need the cron tab anymore. You can use this. It's built into server. You don't need to give the DBA access to the shell. It's even better because you don't need to build a script just to run some query every time. You just use the event scheduler, and it can arrange the events to run every, whatever, how she wants it. It's like cron, but on the database level. It was just a side note, right? So with Schema Inspector, we've also the status info from the server. We have access to some maintenance options, like analyze, optimize, check, and checksum. This should be familiar for you if you are doing some DBA job on the database level, right? And I should also mention that except Schema Inspector, there is something like Table Inspector, which is very familiar to this. Well, it's very similar to this, in the difference that it's for the tables, right? And it allows you to also create triggers. Also, you will see the grants, which is, I think, the most interesting thing, because if someone has a very extended grant supports on the servers, let's say a complicated grant setup, it will be very handy to see what table or what even column has got what permission on the schema. From the SQL IDE, there's something like form editor. It was already in Workbench. Hold on, because I think I've, sorry. Okay. Edit data row by row. Okay, form editor. Form editor is something that allows you to first edit data row by row. Why it was added? Mainly because of this multi-line text edit. So people wanted something to edit the huge text, and it was tricky to get it working in, well, not so tricky, but we decided to make this because it's more handy than what's done in, for example, Excel. This is my opinion. So, except this, it can visualize the data, and this is something new in 6.2. This is geometry data. Workbench can now visualize the geometry data at hand. So you just make query, and the data will be visualized in from editor, but not only. But there is also a special viewer, which we'll say a little bit more later. Let's move now to the query statistics. Because query statistics is something we need to check sometimes to see if the query is doing a good job, right? If the query is good. If the performance is dropping, we need to find out why. And before we start digging in, we can just take a look at this screen, and we get all the information about the query, right? And it allows us to spot problems faster. We've got the information about temporary tables used, about not using indexes, which is very important sometimes, not always, sometimes, usually. And it's at hand, right? It's available for every query. You don't need to do anything else, just to switch to it, this query status, right? And you will see on the screen. There's additional information if you will enable the performance schema reports. Additional information will be shown up here. Except query statistics, the next option is Visual Explain. It's the execution plan. The execution plan looks like this. And yeah, it's something I've mentioned in the beginning, that it was introduced with the MySQL Server 5.6, which gives you detailed information about the query. And you've got this is output from 5.7 to be exact. In 5.6 you will have no cost information. This is cost information. This is cumulative, right? And this is information about the whole query. And table scan was done on this table. We've got information about how many rows were proceed. So it's better visualizing the information you've got, right? I should ask now if somebody was using previously some tool to visualize the query, the explain. Anyone was using before? No? None? Okay. Usually someone said that they are using Matkit, but okay. Now you can use Workbench anyway. Workbench is capable of doing this, so you can use Workbench. And regarding this, it's advanced option. It's not only this. If you hover the mouse over the information here, you will get even more information about this particular item, right? So I will encourage you to go to the tutorial that you can find here. It explains in details this visual explain thingy. So you'll be more familiar with it, and you can start using it if you are using MySQL 5.6 at least. And I've said something about Spatial Viewer, and so this is how it looks like. Yeah, a Spatial Viewer, as the name it says, allows you to visualize spatial data. And also, it allows you to merge several layers. And if you merge them, each layer will have different colors, so you can easily find them. You can, of course, disable or enable the layers, so you can hide it or unhide it. And this is part of Europe. Of course, you can zoom it, you can pan it, you can auto-zoom it, because sometimes the spatial data, the query, the GIS things, can get very small, so you will not find it on this map. For example, I've got a sample. If we have a time, I'll try to show you an overlay of railways from Portugal over this map. So we will see what I'm talking about small points here. Yeah, you can also check coordinates with it. As you can see, there's a point. This point is Poland, country where I came from. And yeah, you've got it out of the box. You don't need to do anything else. You just need to query the table, and you will get this output if you switch to Spatial View. I've mentioned also that Workbench can do more. What's more? More is SSH tunneling for the first thing. I've already mentioned that, but I should mention it one more time. SSH tunneling is a very handy feature because sometimes, or even very often, in some companies, you don't have direct access to the MySQL server. You've got access over some SSH tunnel, over SSH, because the administrator said that, no, it's too dangerous to put MySQL outside. So we need to separate this, and we will give you SSH tunnel. So Workbench can do SSH tunneling, right? And the only thing you need to do is just to fill up the details about the SSH. You can use of course, authorization using the keys, and you can just connect to Workbench, and it will allow you to do everything as if it was on the local host. So you can dump it, you can import the data over tunnel, of course. This is not like some trick, this is done over the tunnel. You can, of course, do all the queries, manipulation, the modeling will work, everything will work. The Python plugins. I've mentioned that everything in Workbench is made in Python. Well, a lot of things is made in Python. For example, a lot of administration stuff is made in Python. So you can, if you know Python, if you want to add something to Workbench, you can just check these sources of those files, of the administration parts, and you can build your own plugin for it. And I can give you a sample, a plugin I've made myself some time ago. I was DBA of a huge database, like of a few thousand database. I need the plugin to query all the databases at once, all the schemas at once. So I've got two options. First, build the plugin, build the application on the command line level. Not a problem, but there were two guys from the Windows, and they didn't want to play with the shell. So yeah, I've ended up, what else? There can be Workbench. I can use it to build plugin using as I mentioned before earlier, the mfuns library. And having that, you've got access to every part of Workbench, even this screen, so you can have predefined setup for the servers. And I was able to query all the servers at once, so you can use it to extend the Workbench functionality. You can add your own plugins. As I said, you can access almost every single detail in Workbench. If it's a model or it's a SQL IDE, yeah, it's from there. Also, there is something like Fabric. Fabric is something new in Workbench, and in MySQL world, and Workbench is already able to handle this. If you've got a Fabric setup, you just need to point Workbench to the main node, and Workbench will create the whole setup for you. For the Workbench side. So you don't need to fill up all the information for the additional nodes that's under the Fabric node, main node. But Workbench will do for you. So you just need to fill up the root node. Where can we find additional information regarding Workbench? First of all, the tutorials. Tutorials can be found on MySQL Workbench.org. I really insist on checking that site because we are usually explaining every new feature after the GA. You can find even videos there. Some people ask about something in the comments. You can find us in a Workbench channel on a Freenode server. You can speak with the developers directly, including me. Bug reports and feature requests. Yes, feature requests can be filled also on bugsmysql.com. And if you've got some ideas, please join to a Workbench channel and speak with us and fill the feature request reports so we can work on that and think about this in the next release. Also the download, as I've mentioned in the beginning, If you are using the Workbench from the main repository, you should probably upgrade. Because, for example, the Ubuntu 12, I know that it's already probably not supported, but it's still shipping the version 5.2, which is very old, very unstable, and very slow. Compared to the latest version, trust me, it is very, very slow and very unstable. And yeah, you can download it from here, no problem. Well, Windows user has only this option, right, to download. But we are in the Linux world, so you can use the apt repository, or you can use the yum repository, because Oracle is giving you the yum and apt repository. And we've got 5 minutes less, so is there any question? Are there any questions regarding Workbench, regarding MySQL? I'll try to answer. Yes? SVG. SVG. Well, right now no, because for displaying the GIS stuff, we're using the GDA library, and to transfer we're using the Proj library, right? So it's built in as that. To display SVG, we would need to implement that functionality. But yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah, because probably you're keeping SVG in as blob, right? Yeah, okay. Okay, please come to Workbench channel. Yes, please come to Workbench and speak with us, and we will see. We'll see what we can do, because there are many of us, well, some of us are sitting there. So yeah, we can see what can be done if you will fill a feature request, if there will be some people interested in that. I think we can start thinking if we can work on that, if we can implement that. Yeah. Anyone else? No one? So, okay, we've got 3 minutes left. I will try in those 3 minutes, if the crew have nothing against this, to show you a first image of the layers of railways, as I promised you, right? We need to do a little bit switch. How it's done. Wow. Oh, it did it again. No, I hate it. Ah, okay, it's only this. Okay. Okay. So this is a view of the world, as I said. It's better than down here. And to merge it, you just run another query. And this is how we see the railways. You see only some points, right? If you zoom in, you will see some lines. If you zoom more, you will see that it's railway station. Now, if we will merge it, let's do this like this. So now, let's zoom to Portugal. Is this? It's in Portugal, right? It's somewhere here. So it's easy as this, and you can just a bit hide it. And also, if I switch here, you see the information, and that I mentioned at the beginning. You can view the record feature directly from the map. You can switch the projection. We support the Robinson-Mercator equirectangular bone. If you are familiar with GIS stuff, you know what does it mean. A bone looks like this. This is the equirectangular. For some of you, it may be something that's, well, what is this? But for GIS people, they know what it means. And I can tell you that It works like if you will run a query that outputs geometry data, you will get the visual output of this. You don't need to do anything else. You will just get the output. Also in form editor, as you can see, we support the WKT, GeoJSON, GML, and KML. So you don't need to convert this data. You can use the Workbench to convert the data on the fly, right? So it's available on the hand and on the fly, without any additional plugins or programs or coding. Yeah. So basically, this is it. Yeah, I think that's all. Yeah, so I would like to thank you for the show. And I hope you enjoyed.